Coach Angela Morian, Wish TV and Indy, congratulations, first of all, welcome.
Thank you, nice to meet you, Angela.
Why was it so important for your first order of business to give Devin a scholarship?
Well, I played against him, so I know exactly what he was capable of. And he was hard to bring down, hard to tackle. In watching and evaluating tape throughout that week, I thought he was in the upper echelon of the running backs we have faced, or we're going to face this past season. So, found out he was not on scholarship, and now I'm like, shoot, this guy needs a scholarship, and I'm reminding myself like, well, yeah, you're the head coach, so you can do that. So talked to Mike about it, and he thought it'd be a great idea, and I knew we were having a team meeting, and so I thought, shoot, why not first order of business, do what's right, and let's give Devin a scholarship.
Slight false start on my part. Please motion to our mic holders to, that's my fault.
Yep.
So our guys on the sides here, get to them, and Mike, please say your name and affiliation before asking a question. Thank you.
Yeah, Ryan, Tom Dienhart with Golden Black. You talking in generalities about your offense. Can you give us any specifics on what you plan to do offensively, and also give us sort of an idea of where you're at with your staff, how soon you think you'll start making hires?
Yeah, so, the staff members I'm talking to, potential candidates for our offensive coordinator job, they're gonna operate out of primarily 11 and 12 personnel. We're gonna be balanced in the sense of, if it requires us to run the ball to win the game, we're gonna run it. If it requires us to pass it to win the game, we're gonna pass it. As far as what type of schemes, I believe in using all 11. That doesn't mean our quarterback's gonna be running around like crazy, but if he can get us a couple first downs in the game, that's awesome, and making the defense play with all 11 individuals on the field. As far as in the run game, we're gonna mix up zone and gap schemes. We'll run inside zone, outside zone, some zone read, and then we'll run, counter, GT. We'll get creative in our personnel groupings and formation. So if we got 12 personnel out there, we could have the potential of being empty. We could give you an 11 picture, or we could give you a 21 picture, right? And so we'll be creative that way. Like I said earlier, we'll be strategically aggressive. I want our offense to do the things that I hate seeing on Saturdays as a defensive coordinator. I think there's this misnomer out there that, defensive head football coaches, all of a sudden they just want to condense down a game and get good stats. I'm not into stats, I want to win games. And so, obviously, I've got a quarterback background. I want our quarterbacks to have success here, and we're going to be high-powered and high-flying on offense.
The transfer portal, your experience maneuvering and working in the portal, Ryan, and also how you feel, I know you haven't been on the job long, about your ability to retain most of these guys on this roster.
That's what we're working through right now. My job right now is to get to know these guys, start building trust and respect with the players in the locker room, and then from there, identifying what our needs are from a personnel standpoint, what our numbers are, and what holes we need to fill, and if that's with a high school recruit or a transfer portal, that'll be it. But again, that's all stuff that we're working through right now. I've been on the job for 48 hours.
And are you going to call the defense, or are you going to have a defensive coordinator call the defense?
I'm going to have a defensive coordinator, but I do believe that what I do is unique. I'm not shy in saying I think I'm the best defensive coordinator in the country right now. I think the numbers speak for themselves, and so I would not relinquish those duties unless I felt comfortable. So the defensive side of the ball has got to be taken care of. That's with me, and that needs to be with me. But if I feel comfortable with the staff that we bring in and their abilities to do it as a high level as I could or better, then I'll do what's best for the program.
How do you feel about Purdue's NIL split situation? Is it a situation you think you can succeed with at the Big Ten level?
Absolutely. That's one of the things that was very attractive to me about this opportunity. Our administration, Mike here has done a great job with the collective, and we'll be in the upper echelon of the Big Ten.
Hi, Coach. Mick Walker, 24/7 Sports, Boiler Sports Report. Just from speaking to the current recruits, I know you can't get into specifics, but I know you reached out to most of them last night. What was that message, just 24 hours a week until signing day? What was that message like?
Yeah, it was good to get on the phone with all of them, you know, letting them know that they fell in love with this place for a reason, and I know things that, have changed, like the status quo is not the status quo, right? But that I'm excited to be their head coach, and, that I'm looking forward to getting to know them and getting on the recruiting trail. As soon as we break here, I'm gonna hit the ground running and start to get in front of hoops.
Got you, and then continuing with the recruiting trail, speaking to some coaches in the state and around the area, they know about you obviously from your success at Illinois, but they don't know a ton about you locally. What's your message to those local coaches, the in-state coaches that have made the programs that continue to help produce talent to Purdue?
Well, my message to them is I can't wait to get to know you. I mean, we're gonna try to put a fence up around this state. There's a lot of high-quality football, not only talent from a player's stance, but really great coaches in this state. And so this Indiana is gonna be a priority for us in the recruiting department.
Right here, Coach.
Ryan Wilson Moore, Indianapolis Star. You mentioned keeping guys committed to the program. What have those conversations been like, or what do you hope for them to be like to keep guys committed to Purdue?
Yeah, you know, like I mentioned earlier, those conversations have been positive and productive. Obviously, this is a world-class institution from an academic standpoint. You know, this is the best conference in college football. You can achieve everything that you want to from an on the field and off the field standpoint right here at Purdue. So that aspect of their commitment has not changed. The only thing that's changed is, you know, the guys in the building will be a little bit different. And so it's my job for them to get to know me, and for me to get them to believe in the direction and the principles that we're preaching.
And being a defensive guy, you touched on this earlier, what you want to do on offense, but in an offensive coordinator specifically, what kind of traits are you looking for?
Yeah, first off, everybody in the building is first and foremost gonna be high character guys, no egos, nobody can care who gets the credit. And then from there, we gotta be high football IQ, so we're gonna teach these guys football, not just schematics, but really how to play the game, from both sides of the ball, so that, we're not reacting to things on Saturday, we'll be anticipating things, throughout the course of the game in order to win football games.
Kyle Charters, 1017, The Hammer, and Saturday Tradition. There's also a Purdue football game here in 2.5 weeks. What sort of will your involvement be, if at all, in preparation for that game?
Yeah, I won't have any involvement preparation-wise. This is their season. I want to allow them to continue to and put a stamp on the success that they've had this year. I'll be at the game. I'll watch the game. I'm not evaluating anybody. I'm not making suggestions. But I am excited to see them go compete. I know from competing against them, I know what kind of competitors are in the locker room. And I'll be cheering, you know, harder than anybody else for them to get a W against the Tigers.
We've talked a lot about offense, I guess, without giving us the secret sauce, unless you want to. Tell us a little bit about your defense and what you do.
Yeah, you know, like you said, and without giving away the secret sauce, you know, we are going to limit explosive plays. We're going to stop the run. We're going to confuse and harass the quarterback. And you know, if it all holds true, we're going to generate a lot of turnovers. And we're going to play fast. We're going to play sound, and there won't be any mental errors out there. So we won't beat ourselves defensively. We're going to play with confidence and an extra sense of physicality.
Yeah, hey Ryan, Brian Newbert from goldenblack.com. What's the number one thing you look for in a recruit?
Do they love the game? You have to love football to be good at football. I think that's one thing that gets overlooked in the evaluation aspect of recruiting. You know, do they play football for the things that come with it? Like, are they more into, you know, who's following them on Twitter or how many likes they get on Instagram? Or do they love the game for the game? And if they love the game for the game, then you got a chance to really maximize and realize their potential as fast as possible.
Now, you're obviously still working on your staff, but do you have anybody else in the building with you right now recruiting, or are you going alone?
I got the recruiting partner that's here right now, has really been helpful in giving me the information and setting up you know, what are our priorities and where we need to be headed. But yeah, right now, I'm the only one in the building.
Yeah, Coach, DJ Fessler of BoilerMakersCountry.com. As of now, you're the fourth youngest head coach now in the FBS. I guess what have you learned to this point in your career? What are your biggest takeaways, and why was now the right time to make the jump to becoming a head coach?
Now was the right time. One, because I feel like I'm ready, and because of this opportunity, right? A lot of times, especially in this profession, it takes a little bit of luck in terms of opportunities coming and then you being ready for them when they arise. And that's been something that has held true for me throughout my career. I was young as a position coach, and it just kind of happened, right? The timing of it happened, and I got the job. And then I was young as a play caller. It just kind of happened, right? And so now, same thing, right? It was a different way of leading the search and the timing of it. But I'm more than ready. I've been ready, and I can't wait to go to work and make this the best decision of my career.
Casey Bartley, Rivals Boiler Upload. This is obviously your first head coaching position at this level. From your experience and what you've seen, what are the pillars to being a successful head coach that you're going to look to become?
Yeah, first, the guys that I've been around that have been successful as head coaches, they're the same guy every day. You can copy a practice phase, you can mimic a calendar, but you can't try to be somebody you're not, because if you are, then that means you're inconsistent. It's hard to be genuine, and it's hard to gain real relationships. And in this profession, because of the amount of time you spend with the amount of people that you spend in the building to have success, those relationships have to be real. And so I will be authentic. I'm going to be me. I'm not going to try to be anybody else. This is how I've gotten this far in my career. And because of that, I'll try to ask fast, gain the trust and the respect of young men in the locker room. And I'm going to hire guys that are like-minded, that really care about these individuals as individuals, because they are.
A couple more for Coach, please.
Ryan, Sam King from Lafayette Journal and Courier. First of all, do you have a timetable on when you'd like to have a staff assembled? And I know you want to get the right candidates, but also realize what's quickly approaching here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's a good question. There are a couple guys that we're targeting pretty quickly that I've had on my radar for a long time. But at the same time, like, we're going to go through the process and vet the process to make sure that we're getting the right guys in the building. You get one shot at this deal, and I want to have as much success as we can have as a program. In order to do that, I've got to get the right guys in the building.
Obviously, this is your program. You're going to put your own stamp on it. But how important is it to kind of build off the history and the brand of what Purdue football is?
Yeah, it's not a rebuild, right? I'm trying to elevate and really dive into and understand the tradition and the standard here. And so it'll be my job to raise that standard and continue to chase and win championships.
Sorry, Val Ellis, Purdue exponent. You mentioned in your introductory message out there the importance of talking to Purdue football alums. You've obviously got a lot of people to meet, and it's only been a few hours, but have you had the chance to talk to any of them yet so far?
Just the ones that are like around the building. I got to meet a couple yesterday, just walking through the administrative building as well. Like you said, it's been a crazy 48 hours, but I can't wait to meet everyone and really get to know everybody. This is a place that you can grow roots, and so I'm here a long time.
That's true. And then, if I could press you a bit on the scheme of your defense, Purdue, while here under Jeff Baum, ran a 4-2-5 most often, whereas at Illinois it seemed to be mostly 3-4 with other looks mixed in. Would you be looking to transition out of that 4-2-5 to more of that three lineman front, or would it be adapting to the personnel here?
Well, so that's my job as a coach, is to adapt to the players, right? Obviously, I've got my own philosophies on scheme and alignment, but that's all for naught if the players aren't suited to do that, right? It's funny you say a 3-4, because that's pretty much how people describe it, just because they see the 3 down. But it's so unique that there's really there's no name for it yet. You know what I mean? So I gotta think of a name for it.
Brian Joey Wagner with Illini Inquirer. Out there you called Brett Bielema a mentor. I guess what did those last 2 years with him in this conference help you develop, and what that mean to you, and then what was his role in kind of navigating you through the process of becoming a head coach?
He was monumental in his role. I left the University of Missouri to go to Illinois to learn from him. Obviously, he's got his own coaching tree, and coordinators that have gone on to be head coaches. You know, Dave Doran at NC State has had success there, and he was up under Coach B. Obviously, he's had himself a successful career as a head coach, and so being able to understand the ins and outs of being a CEO of a program, and really his availability to me, and his the environment, the culture he created to allow me to grow as not only as a play caller but as a CEO and a leader. Those lessons that I will take forever, and I'm sure there'll be times where I'll call him to bounce some ideas off of him in the near future as well.
Okay, thanks everyone. We'll now take questions from AD Mike Bobinski. Coach, if you could move the mic in front of you. Okay, please signal.
You've often mentioned the deeper pool of candidates. Can you put some context behind that now, how deep it was if you rose to the top of it?
I think over the course of our 6 days, or however long it was, I've lost track of days or times here, that we evaluated and vetted more than a dozen people, either exploring interest or in fact talking specifically to. So we had a lot of folks that were in play here over the course of those 6 days. All really qualified and quality football coaches without a doubt. So we were very fortunate.
Hi, Mike. Nick Walker, 24/7 Sports. What stood out to you when it comes to talking to people or just seeing Ryan's track record as a recruiter and also as a developer of guys?
Sure. From a recruiting perspective, recruiting is relationships. It's the ability to connect with people, relate to people, and ultimately close. And I think everybody can get a very quick sense of sort of Ryan's ability to relate to people at all levels. And his communication, his authentic personality. I was not in the team meeting last night, but those that were, it's like an instant ability to connect. And so from that perspective, it's clear to me that this is a coach that can do that at a very, very high level. And the results speak for themselves. And I forgot the rest of your question, so there you go.
Just him as you bringing in the talent and bringing him here is one thing, but then you develop him. And
Yeah. Well, I think so. People talk about the success that's happened in Illinois these last couple of years. It has not been because of an influx of just high-level players. It's taking a group of guys that were there and turning them into one of the, if not the best in some categories, defense in the country. That speaks to me very loudly about the ability to identify, develop, put people in the right place, and motivate them to perform at a high level. So I feel real good about that.
Thank you.
Mike, Tom Dean, our Golden Black, can you give us any sense at all on any contract terms? I know it's a 5-year deal, assistant coaching and salary pool. Again, I'm not sure if you can at this point, but if you can, far away.
We'll get all that out quickly, Tom. But it's all done. We've all, in fact, when I called Ryan a couple nights ago, he answered the phone. He didn't say hello. He goes, "What the hell took you so long to call me?" He said, I already signed the deal. I said, well, okay, well, that was easy. There wasn't a lot of salesmanship that had to go in on my part. And so, yeah, we're in great shape there, and that'll all be available later, Tom, as it usually is.
Val Ellis, Purdue Exponent. Could you give us any insight into what the coordinator pool of money will look like? I believe under last year the highest paid coordinator hovered around $550,000, whereas Walters here made $1 million over at Illinois. Will that look that compared to
That's where he gets his
previously?
fancy clothes from, big salary. No, we have provided a pool for Coach Walters that he'll be able to allocate it however he wishes, and it's really competitive, and I think he's really pleased with what he's got to work with.
Any more questions?
Can I get one?
Okay.
Can I get
One more?
Sorry.
2 more? Okay.
Yeah. Sitting over here and listening to him talk about his defense and the smirk you got on your face, but what is it about his defense that gives you that, and how much that played into? You mentioned before being somebody that's tough to prepare for. How much was that?
Well, I can tell you that when I spoke to my counterpart, who's a friend at Illinois, who played college football, played in the NFL, and knows the game really, really well, as he was describing Ryan to me, he said, he's like a defensive savant. I've never seen anybody put a plan together in real time, make adjustments and reactions to what's happening like this coach can. incredibly complimentary. And one of the things that, Ryan, you'll see this as time goes by, if he in fact does call it here for a while, I mean, he doesn't have a sheet in front of him. I mean, he does it with intuition, feel, preparation. That is not your average coach. I mean, it's a different level of sort of owning that defense and understanding how it's sort of something that just evolves as it's happening, and that is different. I mean, it is really different and exciting, and I can't wait to see it, you know, on our sidelines.
Casey Bartley, Rivals, Boiler Upload. Did you go into this initially with head coaching experience, thinking that would be a pivotal part of who you wanted to get? And then what about Ryan, if that is the case?
Yeah. You know, all things being equal, if we found somebody that brought everything else that we believe we see in Ryan and also had head coaching experience, of course, you know, that's pretty much common sense. But at the end of the day, it was about hiring the person that we felt was the very best for us at this moment in time. And ultimately had, and the way I've described it to anybody that's asked me, I think we've hired the person with the absolute highest ceiling of everybody we talk to. I mean, I don't think there's a limit to what we will accomplish and Coach Ryan Walters will accomplish here. It's that's the most exciting thing to me, is that the upside is just spectacular, and I can't wait to see it start to unfold.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, everybody, for coming. The recordings and the audio